Hi, I'm Perry Atkinson, General Manager here at theDove. Hey, check out our other videos and check out our website at thedove.us. All right, we're back and delighted to have with us Dr. Bev Smallwood with us today. And you maybe have seen her or heard her on some of the other talk shows, or maybe a Focus on the Family with Dr. James Dobson. She's not only a psychologist, but she's also an actress, and a film called A Long Way Off, which is scheduled to come out in about a week or so. We'll talk to her about that. But now Bev has made it to the big time. She's on theDove. Hi, Bev. How are you?
I'm very happy to be on theDove.
Okay, I need some volume here. Good to see you. Well, listen, the movie's coming out June 6th?
Yes. It is, and we're very, very excited about it.
Well, you should be. That's great. Congratulations to you. All right, we want to talk about love hunger, which is you're saying that it is a real factor in some of these mass killings, especially the one that we saw over the weekend, the tragedy. It's just, or last weekend, just amazing. What's the correlation? What are you saying here?
Well, love hunger is that desire for genuine love and acceptance and belonging, and very often we see that absent. And in fact, if anybody watched the videos that this mass killer put onto his site, you see that that was like a primary concern in his life, and that's not unusual. I do a lot of work in prisons with people who are accused of various crimes, and very often you see absent parents, particularly absent fathers, who have not provided that kind of stability in the person's life so that they feel love and acceptance, and that's also one of the themes in the movie.
All right, so love hunger is it primarily the lack of parental love, or because we saw that he had also had some other desires as well?
Exactly. This person was looking for love, I will say, in all the wrong places. There was something about his attitude that apparently kept people away from him, because you look at the guy, if you met him on a college campus, you would think he was a nice-looking guy. So if people were avoiding him, I think it was more about his own projection of bitterness and hatred that caused people to stay away. But very often these people blame others for their lack of love, and that's problematic, as we saw tragically.
All right, speak to parents. What should they be looking for? Because it could be, they're saying, wait a minute, maybe I'm not spending enough time with my child. I mean, what would be an indicator of a love-hungry child?
Well, certainly we do want parents to spend quality time with their children. That goes without saying. But in terms of observing, we want to see if there have been any changes in the child's behavior, particularly when they start talking about things related to not feeling accepted, and then they could get like a crust on them saying, I don't really care what other people think about me, which typically means I do care, I care a lot, and I don't feel accepted. We want to get really alarmed if the child or the adolescent or young person starts making statements like, this will soon be over, because that could have suicidal implications. It could also have implications that they're going to take care of it themselves. We sure want to pay attention if they begin to as this young man did, do some writings that indicate that he has plans in the works. Certainly if they start collecting weapons of any kind, these are all very much danger signs. The same thing in the workplace, by the way, because we also see these incidents of violence there.
What, in particular, you mentioned twice now the role of the father, or in particularly the lack of the father's involvement. That obviously is a key ingredient in all of these cases.
Well, it really is. There's been a lot of research about this, that the father's involvement in a child's life affects everything from their cognitive development, their academic performance, their formation of healthy relationships, the probability that they'll be involved in any kind of delinquent behavior or misbehavior in school. It even goes on and affects their success in their careers and their marriages. So the impact of a loving father cannot be overestimated.
Let's jump over to the movie just for a moment. Tell us about it without giving it all away. And you're a psychologist, but now you're an actress. Ta-da!
Ta-da! Well, the movie is really great. If most people are familiar with the parable of the prodigal son that Jesus told, wow. And it's a modern day telling of the prodigal son story, and it certainly involves a father's love. The prodigal, even though the prodigal went off and he was going to find love and acceptance, he thought he could do it with material possessions, very similar to maybe what this killer that we're talking about did, but that didn't work, and he came to the end of himself, of course. But the real star of the story is the loving father, who was always there waiting to embrace and show the young man true love, the kind of love that's not trying to use a person, but instead is genuine love. And that, of course, is symbolic of God the Father's love in Jesus' story.
That's wonderful. And again, it'll be in the theaters coming up June 6th, so in about a week or so. Well, congratulations again. Quite a project, huh?
Well, it is quite a project, and has been. It continues to be quite a project, and I'm very excited about one part of it. I could mention that in the fall, when the DVDs come out, that I was honored to be asked by the movie makers to create and produce a video Bible study that will be available for churches and faith groups and anyone who would like to study the story from a biblical perspective in terms of the customs and what it really means in a practical way in our lives. Because there were actually two lost sons, one being the one that was obviously lost who went off, but then there was the elder brother who had been there at home the whole time, rule-based, following all the rules, but he too did not experience and know his father's love that was there and available for him.
Wow, that is a twist. That's great. Well, I want to come back to, why do these love-hungry children end up in violent acts?
Well, sometimes love-hungry children kind of turn it in on themselves in terms of poor self-esteem, but sometimes they project the blame to other people. And if that love hunger is allowed to take root in anger and bitterness, then that can grow into hate, and hate can grow into a murderous rage, which is like the one that we saw. I've seen it many times with in my work with people accused of criminal behavior, and I trace their history, and I find that it just those seeds of bitterness took root, and they held on to them, and they seethed about it, and then one day, given the right opportunity or the wrong opportunity, if you want to say it that way, then it comes to fruition, and all of that rage is expressed.
It's got to be a huge, not only emotional, but almost intellectual disconnect that they would kill the innocent. I mean, that they would just go out and get an innocent person and take it all out on them.
What we know is that in any kind of pervasive anger or bitterness, that it doesn't just stay in one spot, that a person might be angry at one person or one incident. We saw, if you read some of the manifesto and some of those things, that this young man apparently was angry with a girl back at a point in his life, and then that spread. And that's what we find, is that the bitterness spreads and generalizes to the point that then the person begins to see himself or herself at odds with the entire world. So in the mind of the killer, everyone is at fault, everyone's against him, and it's him against the world. And so it doesn't matter who you hit in the process. That person obviously was at fault too.
All right, two things that come out of this. We are talking about a perpetual life of rejection. At least that was what it appears. Is that correct?
Rejection or perceived rejection. You know, some of the people that do this, there were actually people in the person's life who tried to reach out to them. Apparently, this guy's parents were trying their best to help him. So it can be, but if it's perceived rejection, that's truth in that person's mind. So yes, a life of perceived rejection.
All right, and then the other part of this is when they finally have their outrage, have they pretty much made up their mind they're going to die too?
Very often they have, and I think that is a thing about power, because they know that if they were caught after doing this, that someone else would have power over them, and this whole explosion is an expression of hyper power, that they're finally taking back control of the world, and they don't want anybody else to have control of them. So they make the choice to go ahead and have control of how they die. And that's where I think some of the suicides come from.
Wow. All right, so let's go back to the beginning, Dr. Smallwood. For anybody, any of us, what are some of the signs of a person beginning to shut down in this area? Well,
you have to know the person very well, because one person might be quiet, and that's kind of how they are. They have those moments of solitude. So I don't want us to all get paranoid about it, but you can see, if you look carefully and you're relating with the person, you can see that type of withdrawal that is filled with anger. And you know, also watch for the person's habits if they begin to change. In a way of either being withdrawn or being with people who have a philosophy or a theory about aggression and anger, and then of course anything that has to do with direct threats or little sarcastic statements that says, oh, for example, something like, well, we'll see how all this turns out. Because if you watch those videos, you saw just a smugness about this young man as he said, okay, now it's going to change because,
yeah.
And so that sort of attitude may even be quiet. It may not be rageful and turning over chairs and so on, but it may be a quiet, seething anger coupled with some kind of means to carry it out. As a psychologist, if someone is, we have obligations to warn if we believe there's an imminent danger, either to the person or to someone else. And so some of the things that we're looking for is, do they have thoughts about it? And then, but specifically, do they have a plan? And do they have the means to carry it out?
Wow.
And there are other warning signals, but those are just three immediate and urgent factors that let us know we better be making a move and notifying someone quickly.
I'm almost out of time, so one other quick question, and it probably deserves a long answer, but for the most part, it always seems it's a male that does this. You never see a female doing this. Is there any reason for that?
It's certainly factual that most of these are males, and you know, there's some physiological things about testosterone and aggressiveness and so on. Females who are angry may tend to turn it on themselves or use less aggressive ways. For example, even in suicide, females who commit suicide tend to do overdoses as opposed to a shotgun. So both by conditioning in our culture as well as some innate biological factors do tend to be more aggressive.
Thank you, Dr. Smallwood. A joy to have you. And again, congratulations. The movie A Long Way Off will be released in the theaters coming up June 6th. So thanks, and we'll see how it turns out for you.
Yes, and there's more information at alongwayoffthemovie.com.
Longwayoffthemovie.com. All right. Thank you for letting us know that. Have a great day. God bless you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. Bye-bye.
Bye. We'll see you next time on Focus.